Are we inherently evil? If society collapsed tonight, would you still be a good person? Or would something ancient and monstrous crawl out of you? You probably think evil is rare, that it's an exception, a glitch in the moral system. We imagine evil in villains, tyrants, war criminals, those headline monsters who seem inhuman. But we rarely consider a darker possibility, that evil isn't an anomaly, but a potential that lives in all of us, not in the shadows, but just under the surface, and that the only thing keeping it buried is context, pressure, and the right excuse. So, are we inherently evil? That's the question, but this video won't give you a clean answer, because this isn't about answers. It's about revealing how fragile your moral identity really is. In the next few minutes, you'll see how infants display both empathy and exclusion, how ordinary people turn sadistic when given uniforms and a green light, how crowds erase conscience, and how your morality might be less about principles and more about mimicry. You'll see what happens when your comfort collapses, when the system cracks, and when your shadow self steps forward. This is not just a philosophical exploration. It's a mirror, and by the end, you might not recognize the reflection. Let's start at the beginning. You're 6 months old. You can't speak. You can't walk. Yet, according to research from Yale's Infant Cognition Center, you already show signs of morality. In one study, babies watched a puppet struggle to open a box. One puppet helps, another slams it shut. Most infants reached for the helper. That looks like empathy, proof of instinctive goodness. But then it shifts. In a follow-up, babies were first given a snack, graham crackers or green beans. Later, when the puppets return, one shares the baby's preference. The other doesn't. Now, when the puppet with the wrong taste gets shoved, what does the baby do? They cheer. The same child who favored kindness moments earlier now celebrates punishment, so long as the target is other. These are pre-verbal infants. They haven't learned to hate. But the roots of tribalism are already there. Loyalty to sameness, rejection of difference. What does that mean for you? Maybe morality isn't universal compassion, maybe it's selective protection, a survival algorithm. Help your group harm the outsider. Jean-Jacques Rousseau claimed we're born innocent, corrupted by civilization. But this data suggests something colder. We arrive with both good and evil wired in, ready to activate based on environment. So when you ask, was I born with evil inside me? The answer isn't just evil. It's conditional morality, a built-in bias that defends your tribe, even if it means applauding someone else's pain. That's where the discomfort begins. If infants are wired to split the world into us and them, what happens when politics, religion, nationalism, or code feed that instinct? What happens when ancient bias hides behind modern systems? These are the questions we ask here, not to shock, but to strip the mask. If you're drawn to excavating the layers beneath your own face, subscribe. This isn't entertainment, it's confrontation. And next, the mirror gets darker. Because the real issue isn't what's inside a baby, it's what happens when that baby grows up in a world designed by fear, inequality, and control. To understand that, we turn to two opposing minds, Jean-Jacques Rousseau and Thomas Hobbes, the original moral adversaries. Hobbes, shaped by civil war, believed humans are violent, selfish, and cruel by default. In his view, morality doesn't emerge, it's imposed. Without authority, he warned, life would be solitary, poor, nasty, brutish, and short. We don't rise on our own, we're restrained. Rousseau disagreed. He saw people as naturally gentle. It's civilization, he argued, ownership, hierarchy, competition that corrupts us. We don't start evil and become civilized. We start good and get twisted. But modern science suggests both were only half right. Neuroscience doesn't reveal a fixed moral nature. It reveals something more dangerous: adaptability. We aren't inherently good or evil. We're contextual. We adjust. We mimic, we obey. A child raised in peace may develop empathy. A child raised in fear learns to numb it. Morality, then, isn't a compass, it's a costume. One we wear to survive the stage we're thrown onto. To ask again, are you inherently evil, or are you something far more unsettling? A shapeshifter who mistakes his reflection for truth. Evil doesn't always storm in. Sometimes it waits until someone gives you a uniform, a title, and permission. That's what happened in 1971 during the Stanford prison experiment. 24 college students were randomly assigned roles, guards and prisoners, in a simulated prison beneath Stanford Psychology Building. No real crimes, no real criminals, just roles and expectations. Within 36 hours, it collapsed into cruelty. Guards became hostile. Prisoners broke down, crying, begging, losing grip on reality. One forgot it was even an experiment. The guards escalated. Humiliation, psychological torment, all justified by the role. What was meant to last 2 weeks ended in 6 days. Zimbardo's conclusion was chilling. Power doesn't corrupt, it reveals, or worse, it activates. The same student who studies for finals and laughs with friends can become a tormentor if the system allows it. Still doubt it? Look at the Milgram experiment. In the 1960s, participants believed they were helping in a learning study. When a learner, a planted actor, gave wrong answers, they were instructed to deliver electric shocks. The shocks were fake, but the obedience was real. Over 65% went all the way, believing they had delivered lethal volts. Why? A man in a lab coat told them to, not because they were cruel, because they trusted authority, because we're trained to obey, even if obedience makes us complicit. Zimbardo later coined the term the Lucifer Effect, how ordinary people, under the right pressures, become agents of harm. Evil doesn't need to seduce you, it just needs a system, and your silence. So what causes people to do evil? Not just belief or ideology. Look at pressure, look at roles, look at the mask you wear when someone says, "Everyone else is doing it." You don't need to be born evil to become a monster. You just need permission. But sometimes it doesn't even take that. Sometimes all it takes is a crowd. Alone, you think, you hesitate. But in a crowd, you vanish. Morality becomes a shared blur. Philosopher Elias Canetti in Crowds and Power wrote, "The crowd does not recognize any house, any door, any individual. It envelops them, and they are equal. Crowds erase identity. They dissolve conscience, and the larger the crowd, the easier it becomes to shift blame. You stop being you. You become us. And us can justify anything. You've seen it. In mobs, riots, online takedowns, comments typed in anonymity that would never be spoken aloud. Social media doesn't help. It rewards rage. It feeds certainty, tribalism, and the relief of not standing alone. In crowds, empathy shuts off. Violence doesn't feel personal. Genocides, revolutions, cancellations, they don't begin with hate. They begin with belonging. That's the real danger. When morality becomes collective, evil becomes invisible. No one takes responsibility. No one feels like the villain. Everyone was just reacting, just doing what everyone else did. So what causes people to do evil things? Not always anger, not belief, not even fear. Sometimes it's the need to belong. If you're still here, still watching, you already feel that discomfort. That matters, because most people won't look this far into the mirror. But if you have, and you haven't subscribed, now's the time. This isn't a channel, it's a place for dangerous questions. And we're not done yet. The next layer is darker. Let's keep going. You believe you're a good person, not flawless, but principled. Someone with a moral line they won't cross. But what if that line isn't fixed? What if it shifts based on who's watching, who's in charge, or what's at stake? It's the morally modular mind, not evil, just human. Inside your brain are mirror neurons, cells that fire when you act and when you observe. They're the roots of empathy. You wince at pain, smile at joy. But there's a catch. They don't come with ethics. They react to who's in front of you, what group they belong to, how the room responds. Studies show we empathize more with those like us by race, belief, or tribe. When someone's marked as other, empathy shuts off, not because of culture, because of wiring, and that switch can be flipped in an instant. Now add moral elasticity, the ability to adjust your ethics to fit the moment. In one study, people inflicted harm with less guilt when told someone else was responsible. They felt less wrong, even as they caused more pain. So no, your morality isn't stable, it's social code. You adapt it to protect your identity, reduce guilt, stay in the group, even if it means betraying your conscience. That's how regimes rise, how ordinary people become collaborators, not because they're monsters, because they run a different moral program, optimized for obedience, fear, or survival. And it's not just history, it's everyday life. You change your voice depending on who's in the room. You donate when it's public. You stay silent when it's safe. We all shift. That's the truth. Morality isn't a compass. It's a costume. And if you'd been born somewhere else, taught something else, or pressured by different people, you might be wearing a very different one. So, can you trust your morality? Maybe, but only if you recognize how easy it is to rewrite. But it's not just your brain or the crowd that rewrites morality. The most efficient tool today isn't propaganda, it's infrastructure. Systems designed not to make you cruel, just to make cruelty convenient. You don't fire the missile, you click. You don't lay off the team, you approve the form. You don't see the sweatshop, you get the package. These systems don't confront you, they distance you. Bureaucracy diffuses blame, technology blinds consequence, and algorithms, they reward engagement, not truth, not care. Your feed doesn't care what's real, it cares what keeps you scrolling. That's how misinformation spreads. That's how outrage becomes routine. That's how empathy becomes background noise. Sociologist Zygmunt Bauman put it simply: evil can be rationalized, parceled out, and distributed until no one sees it for what it is. The machine doesn't demand violence, it just makes it feel normal, and you participate. Maybe you share a cruel post, maybe you stay quiet because it's easier, maybe you look away because speaking up would cost you something. In the past, morality collapsed in mobs. Today it collapses in silence, not with rage, but with efficiency. Evil doesn't always shout, sometimes it runs in the background. So ask again, can I trust my own morality? And ask this too, who's shaping it when I'm not looking? Because if you don't choose your ethics, something else will. Let's strip away your context, your job, your family, your feed. Let's drop you into another time, another system, one where evil isn't punished, it's praised. You're born in 1930, Berlin. The propaganda begins before your first memory. Your neighbors disappear. You don't ask why. Questioning authority is dangerous, and anyway, your life is stable. You do what others do. You believe what others believe. You wear the uniform, you carry the flag. You look in the mirror and see a patriot. Or maybe you're born in a forgotten village during a famine. You watch your sister starve. Someone offers you food in exchange for loyalty to a warlord, a militia, a cause that requires blood. You don't hesitate. You tell yourself it's survival. You pull the trigger. You eat. Or maybe you're born in a tech-drenched empire. You follow the rules. You click the button. You moderate the content. You flag the voices that don't comply. You say you're keeping the world safe. But you never ask, safe for who? You see, history is filled with people who thought they were good, who slept well at night, who kissed their children before reporting to work, at the gulag, at the camp, at the desk where deletion becomes policy. So here's the final question. What makes you so sure that in a different body, in a different era, in a different uniform, you'd still be the hero? Because the darkest truth isn't that evil exists, it's that you, the thoughtful, kind, ethical you, could become it and never even notice. So, are we inherently evil? Maybe the better question is, how easily can we become it? Because what we've uncovered isn't a defect in human nature, it's a feature. We adapt, we conform, and under the right conditions, we obey. Here's what you should remember. We're born with selective empathy. Power reveals, not corrupts. Crowds erase identity, and morality isn't fixed, it's flexible. If you want to stay human, don't trust the defaults. Question the roles, choose your context, and train your conscience like it matters, because it does. Still here? Still watching? Then you're part of this. Subscribe if you haven't, and when you're ready for the next layer, watch this. De-individuation, how the presence of others affects behavior. It shows how you vanish in a crowd and what might take your place. See you there.